All right, YouTube. This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Back with another video this Thursday afternoon. We got to discuss what's going on in California and in this country. Yesterday, they had Jasmine Crockett and Nancy Mace arguing. Now, they were arguing in Congress about whether or not trans women should use the same bathroom and play sports with regular women. Now, the debate, it seems that it's a no-brainer that if you were born a male, you shouldn't use the same restroom as females. At least that used to be the social norm. But now it's up for debate all the way to the Congress floor. And what's going on in California as well is the left seems strange because it's come out now that there are large companies buying property for pennies on the dollar before the fires even stop. And you have Gavin Newsom and you have Karen Bass, the mayor, under fire. But with Karen Bass, they said she's being criticized because she's a woman and she's black. So they're arguing over DEI and they're arguing over what they call woke culture. Now, maybe I'm an old guy, but I really don't understand what woke culture is. But I understand that on the left, they are trying to eradicate social norms. They are trying to mainstream things that were taboo years ago. So, is this thing called woke culture destroying the moral fiber of this country? Is what they call woke culture creating a divide so big in this country that you have the left and the right being intolerant of each other's beliefs and morals? But we got to pay attention to this thing in California because you have all kind of claims. You have Eddie Griffin saying that it's a cover-up. They're covering up hiding tunnels that were used for trafficking. You know, there's a lot of things coming out that people may call conspiracy theories. But we know that what is often called a conspiracy theory later is found out to be true. So I want you to look at this clip I'm going to show you from Greg Foreman at the Black Conservative Perspective. And I want you to pay real close attention to what they're saying and what they're not saying. Even Bill Maher, who is a leftist, is coming out against the left. You know, they're playing the blame game and they're playing politics on a level that we've never seen before in this country, never seen before in the world, because they're telling you that the social norms don't exist no more. Inclusiveness has come to mean everything goes. It's a free for all. This is a society that is in a free for all environment, no parameters. And I want to know what you guys think about this. So without further ado, I'm going to get off into the clip. This is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for commentary and education. Tell me, what do you think about this story I'm going to show you?
Would you have taken that trip overseas?
I am going to focus today on what we know.
Can I ask you one question about gouging? I I think this piece that you wrote about Karen Bass is so fascinating because last week when I saw this video of her getting off the airplane and not responding to a Sky News reporter, just asking for basic comments about anything she could say to the residents of LA. I had to watch it a few times because I was just so struck by her non-response there. I know you've talked to a lot of people in Los Angeles where you are, and you've reported on politics for a long time, and I'm wondering kind of what your assessment is and how people in Los Angeles are feeling about her.
Karen Bass, for a variety of reasons, including that video you just mentioned, has come in for singular blame here. It's hard to see politically how she survives this. I mean, there could be a recall here. There's a lot of anger. It requires 15% of the city's voters to sign a recall petition to get that going. But she's up for re-election next year. The big issue, because the mayor of Los Angeles has weaker executive powers than other cities in this country, the one thing you got to do is show leadership and show some sort of political agenda. We all knew here in Los Angeles from the National Weather Service, at least by Friday, January 3rd, that there was a real threat here because of the Santa Ana winds and the dry winter, that this could be a calamitous fire situation.
I want to interject just for a minute because they said that they were expecting something because of the winds on January the 3rd, before a trip, before she went on vacation. Pay attention.
The next day, she left. Real quick, though, two big stories just came out in the LA Times that also add to her challenges here. She was at a diplomatic reception in Ghana having cocktails while the Palisades fire was burning. Pictures of that surfaced on LinkedIn. And secondly, the LA Times reported today, and this is probably more of the fire department's issue, although she's in charge of that too, notionally, that they only had 5 trucks in place. Again, no one here was prepared for how dangerous and intense this fire was, so it's hard to point fingers. But Karen Bass is the person that I think if you talk to any random man on the street, woman on the street here in Los Angeles, they'd be mad at her.
All right, guys, so we got to continue our coverage of the current downfall of the Democrat Party, because I personally believe what is happening to the Democrat Party is a result of karma for supporting one of the most violent, if not the most violent, political riots and protests that we've ever seen in the history of this country. The 2020 BLM George Floyd protest. And then turning around on January 6th and pretending as if the January 6th protests were worse than 9/11. We just went through months and months and months of nonstop political violence where you had cities burning, chaos and destruction everywhere in the middle of a pandemic. But yet on January 6th, Democrats want to act like that was the worst day ever. And I'm just saying, I think what's happening to the Democrats is a result of karma. And that's what we're saying. Okay, that's what we're saying. The Democrats are at the lowest point that I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this in politics. And I tell you guys, the pendulum always swings the other way. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, the pendulum has really swung the other way on the Democrats. And I'm just hoping that it doesn't swing back the other way for a long, long, long time. Okay, but with that being said, we got to talk about woke LA Mayor Karen Bass, who you can't criticize because she's a black woman, right? You can't call a black woman incompetent just simply because she's black. However, it seems like the mainstream liberal media and others didn't get the message because she has now come under a microscope for her poor leadership amid these wildfires that are happening in Los Angeles. And it is coming out that Karen Bass, while she was in Ghana when these fires erupted, she was at a cocktail party, yucking it up, drinking, right? Having fun. And again, this is as her city is burning to the ground, literally burning to the ground. And she's drinking and having fun overseas in Ghana, in the homeland, getting in touch with the ancestors. So, I mean, hey, this is just not a good look. And this is why a lot of people are criticizing her. But Democrats are trying to defend themselves by saying, no, it is not right to criticize us. You can't do that right now. You're making this political. But even Bill Maher, who is a liberal, is not buying this defense from the Democrats and other liberals, claiming that, hey, you can't talk about this or you can't criticize Democrats. You can't politicize this because it's too early. Take a look.
Karen Bass is taking a lot of heat. So is Gavin Newsom. But there is going to be a recall on Karen Bass. We will see what happens. But a lot of people think she failed in terms of leadership and, you know, where budget cuts may have affected the fire department. And there are other people who are saying, how dare you even talk about that in the middle of the fire? So where do you stand?
Well, we all took a lot of heat. I'm with the people who want to hold politicians accountable. You know, we shouldn't talk about it now. It's so funny to hear that coming out of the mouths of liberals, because they hate it when conservatives say that after a gun tragedy, which is what conservatives always say after a mass shooting. This is not the time to politicize it, and then it never is. It is absolutely the time to.
Now I want to interject briefly there. When you look at majority of these organizations or politicians or politics, and they brought up Black Lives Matter, American trauma is always either politicized or monetized. If there's a tragedy of any large proportion, somebody in this culture is going to either monetize it or politicize it, irregardless of who's suffering, who's injured, who's harmed, who's unalived. So if on the left they have woke culture, and on the right, what would they call what they do if they are criticizing the left? The left say you can't criticize, monetize, or politicize any tragedies or traumas if it happens under their leadership. They are exempt from accountability. And then it seems they've put a lot of people in position so that they could be actual fall guys or scapegoats just in case the money comes up missing, just in case there's a disaster that goes awry. Some people are put in those positions just to be fall guys. That's a concept. Think about it.
Talk about it. And this is what my editorial is about Friday night on the show. Was it always going to be bad? Of course. Their arguments are not wrong. We built the city in a terrible place to build a city. Global warming absolutely does make hot stuff and weather worse. The winds were ridiculous. Yeah, I get all that. And they also made a lot of errors. And if you held Bush accountable for Katrina and thought Rudy Giuliani was an idiot for putting the command center in the World Trade Center, which is the place they attacked for and were most likely to attack again, which he was, well, then you have to have some intellectual honesty and criticize your team when they don't do it right. And they've had a long time to get this righter. It was always going to be bad. All of these were always going to be bad, and they always seem to be the worst they ever possibly could be. So, no, I think we should demand better.
Yes, accountability, which is the Achilles heel of the Democrat Party, okay? They do not believe in accountability, especially for black women, right? You can't do that, okay? That is racist, Bill Maher. That is what it sounds like to me. It sounds like racism to demand accountability for Karen Bass, who is facing recall. And who knows whether or not that will happen, but that is what people are demanding at this point, is that Karen Bass be recalled because people are angry.
I'm really in favor of a recall. I think it's that important to not wait for the next election, to have a recall of Mayor Bass and have an election. And this is not about Republican or Democrat. I have a question. Who would you rather rebuild the Palisades? Mayor Bass, who had all this warning, or Rick Caruso.
Yeah.
Who built the Grove. He built the Palisades Village, which is 99% intact. In fact, that's the guy that I want to rebuild this place.
I'm just saying, ESPN Bet has Steve Green, Steven's A-list. Why can't I have a cool sounding featured bet?
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Now, what I find to be amazing about this is, once again, liberals, progressives, in order to realize that the policies that they vote for are bad, they have to experience the bad results of progressive and liberal policies, right? It's just a damn shame, okay? But hey, like I tell you guys, the best way to red pill a leftist is to give them what they want. Give them what they want. These people think billionaires are bad, right? But what they don't understand is that billionaires are billionaires because they are good at capital allocation, okay? And our government is not. But our government should be, right? Communists are not good at capital allocation. They want to give capital and resources to the least productive people, okay? That's not how it works. That's not how it works, okay? You can't build a society like that. And they're learning the hard way that, hey, yeah, you probably would much rather have a capitalist, a billionaire, a businessman running your city rather than a communist, because communists aren't good at building things, right? And generally, when compared to capitalists, like, for example, look at the Soviet Union. Look at the cars that came out of the Soviet Union. They were terrible compared to the cars out in America in more capitalistic societies. Well, why is that? It's because when you embrace central planning and government-owned state monopolies, well, there's very little incentive to innovate, okay, and to improve your design due to a lack of competition, okay? So, again, they're realizing the hard way that, oh, wait, yeah, we'd much rather have a businessman running the government than a woke progressive. I'm just saying, again, that should have been common sense. You should have got that right the first time around. It shouldn't take a wildfire like this for you to realize that, oh, it makes more sense to have a businessman running the government than a woke progressive woman. But anyways, we have to continue our coverage because you have the LA Firefighters Union. They're speaking out. They're going to CNN. And this segment really does highlight the incompetence of the Democrats running this city. It's really sad to think about.
Not long before deadly wildfires broke out in Los Angeles, firefighters were sounding the alarm about major staffing shortfalls inside the city's fire department. Our senior investigative correspondent, Kyung La, digging into the story for us. Kyung, a new CNN analysis backs up those concerns about staffing. Tell us more.
You know, we've heard sort of the back and forth about fire budgets involving the current mayor, but this is an issue that precedes this mayor. This is years in the making. The fire department has warned of dire consequences, saying that they need more money. They need more firefighters.
Now, I want you to pay attention to that. Now, we know CNN is mainstream media, legacy media, and left media. So they're telling the story, but they're saying the quiet part out loud. They're saying that they had these deficits and were understaffed, and they knew these conditions for years. For years. So the citizens were actually living in danger for years. While in California, Gavin Newsom was defunding the police, leaving borders open, allowing looting and an 87% increase in crime. And these things were going on for years. So you mean to tell me that you can't criticize the government, the mayors? There's no accountability. So what are the people paying taxes for? Why did the insurance companies refuse to insure people? And why are major companies trying to buy the land for pennies on the dollar? Do you guys believe in this many coincidences? I'm just asking. Because that's a lot of things going on.
And they warned of this as recently as last month. At that commission meeting, you said, it's dire. Someone will die.
It's eerie listening to your words because that's what occurred. So it's... You just take a minute. Sorry.
Fire Captain Freddy Escobar.
You're not supposed to make me cry.
35-year veteran of the Los Angeles Fire Department wishes he'd been wrong, and this had not happened. For years, the LAFD union president warned that a disaster like the Palisades fire could happen. And while the cataclysmic weather conditions were historic, Escobar also blamed something predictable that hurt the firefight: money.
This is a woefully understaffed fire department. We're either going to have a fire department that's going to reflect 2025, or we're going to have a fire department that's going to reflect the 1960s.
A CNN analysis shows out of the 10 biggest cities in the nation, Los Angeles ranks 9th when it comes to the number of firefighters per resident. And it shook.
Processing health plan claims can be daunting. They can be inaccurate, take valuable time, and require increasing headcoats.
Millions of dollars in rescue equipment is just sitting in a lot, unused, because the fire department can't afford to hire the mechanics to repair it.
Wow.
LA's fire chief said in a recent memo, the fire department staffing levels were half the size of what they should be.
If we cut one position, if we close one station, if we close one resource, the residents of Los Angeles are going to pay the ultimate sacrifice, and someone will die.
Just last month, fire personnel packed an LA Fire Commission meeting, begging the city to rethink the budget.
These cuts came at exactly the wrong time, with calls for services at an all-time high and our firefighters at their breaking point.
We are straining our department's resources beyond the brink, and we cannot continue on this path.
City Councilwoman Tracy Park was there too.
There are large swaths of the city with no emergency response resources available.
Are we going to be having the same conversation next year and the year after?
We can't. We can't. I think that people are rightly upset, not only that this happened, but there is a sense that we as local leaders needed to do more for them. I feel like I let them down.
Yeah, I mean, you did. I mean, let's be honest, you did. You certainly did. You had the fire department begging for money, warning people, hey, this is the wrong time. Weather patterns, the things that we're seeing indicates that, hey, it could be possible that we have a huge fire coming. This is the wrong time to do it. A month before, they were warning. Everybody was warning about this. Millions of dollars of equipment unused.
Now, I want you to think about what it is you're hearing. As late as a month ago, they've been warning. Years ago, it was headed toward these conditions. Insurance companies stopped insuring homes. And now somebody is buying property, pennies on the dollar. They wanted to use California to create a new smart city. So you have investors investing in a future city while the current city is burning down. Again, is this all coincidental? I just want to know.
Sitting in a repair shop. Can't be repaired, can't afford it. But, hey, Democrats decided that we have to cut the fire budget. Now, why did they decide they had to cut the fire budget? Well, it's because they needed that money to add to the police budget. Well, why they need to add to the police budget? It's because crime is out of control, which, hey, the liberal media, the Democrats told us was a conspiracy theory, right? Ain't it funny how that works? What they say is, well, they cut the budget, but yet they added more money to the police department, right? As if that justifies the budget cut. Because ultimately, why is it that they feel the need to increase the budget for police? It's because crime is out of control. But I thought crime being out of control was a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy.
Now think about what you're hearing. At first, the left was saying defund the police. Then crime got out of control and they had to refund the police. And in all of this back and forth chaos and woke culture, somebody allegedly was investing in the creation of a smart city. Another set of billionaires, the Resnicks, owned 60% of the water. Now, you remember Maui and these places that have these catastrophes with fire, but yet at some point in time after that fire, these places become prime real estate, being bought for pennies on the dollar and rebuilt for wealthy investors who also happen to invest in woke culture, in Hollywood, in the media, and in politicians. Too many coincidences for me.
So again, this is what happens. It's a snowball effect. When it comes to these progressive, soft on crime policies, it snowballs. And we've seen this happen in almost every single one of these cities. When you're soft on crime, it costs the city more money in the long run. You have disasters like this happen. You have other agencies and departments that have to take cuts because you got to fund the police. It's difficult. It's tough. But again, a lot of this is a result of mismanagement, of progressive policies.
And I've been screaming about it from the day I came in. And so I think there is an obligation of us to not let this be for nothing. I think this has to be the wake-up call.
Now, Los Angeles' Mayor Karen Bass said at a recent press conference that the budget didn't have a major impact in battling these fires, mainly because of the unprecedented nature of these fires, the wind and the dry conditions. The union, though, says that there was a city.
What? Now we know that the current fire chief said the total opposite. We know that the fire chief, Garcia, of 35 years in the fire department, predicted that something like this could happen and said that even if that fire department was short one person, it would hurt the residents. You've seen all of the fire trucks inoperable. This is why people are starting to not trust mainstream media or politicians, because they're saying the quiet part out loud while at the same time trying to spin a narrative that leaves no officials accountable.
Council meeting today, they do detect some strong support now from the mayor as well as other members of the council, and they do believe now that these fires and all of this is surrounding Los Angeles, that things may change. Wolf?
Well, it's only changing because this mayor is probably going to be facing recall. She's up for re-election, and she's definitely going to get voted out for sure. I mean, I don't know. You can't really say for sure with these lunatics, okay, in the way that they vote. So I don't know, okay? They might vote somebody in even worse. We just don't know, okay? I mean, from what we've seen before in the past, when it comes to their voting habits. But regardless, again, I think everybody can agree that this was preventable. And I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call to those voters out in California about the dangers of progressive leadership. That you need competent people, you need Republicans, you need capitalists, you need people who understand how to manage capital and resources. You need those people managing the government, okay? Not these progressives, not these woke academics, not these DI hires, not these woke revolution. No, you don't need these people. These are the last people that you want managing anything, okay? You don't want them managing a Taco Bell, let alone a big city like LA or Oakland or San Francisco. But until the voting habits change, you're going to continue to see the same result. I'm hoping that this time they've learned their lesson. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.
All right, Peter Strat.
Wow. That was a lot. When you actually got a chance to see what they knew. Did you guys see all of those inoperable fire trucks in California? Known for wildfires. You know, sometimes they say follow the money. And we've seen the marshaling of all those different factors that someone may say is a coincidence. Because if you say anything other than these things are not coincidence, nothing is coincidental about what's going on in California, then they label that a conspiracy theory. And when I've told you what happens oft times with conspiracy theories, they turn out to be the real truth and real story behind the phenomena that you see. Well, that's all I have for you on this story for today. Signing to you out of Detroit, this is Detroit's HPTV. Like, share, and subscribe. As always, salute to all patriots. And y'all keep your head on a swivel. Peace.